Hi, my name is Dan Castricone, and I'm running for re-election for the Tuxedo Union Free School District School Board. I've been on the board for the last 6 years, and last year I served as president and prepared the budget for the upcoming cycle. I'd like to talk to you about some of the school finances in this video. This year's budget that we wrote is actually smaller than last year's. We're spending less money than we spent last year. That's even after, the contractual raises that all the employees got, increasing costs of books and supplies and everything else, and lunch, and that goes into the, making the school run. This year, the board and I cut out a personnel administrator, a personnel consultant, a facilities consultant, a transportation consultant, a technology consultant, a finance consultant. These are positions that we've never had before, never had in past years. They've all been layered on over the last couple of years, and they're very, very expensive. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars that was cut from the budget in these admin positions and these consultant positions. When you think about how much money we raise in taxation, right? Between $12 and $13 million a year comes in taxes. So every $120,000 is 1% of the budget. You think about cutting $300,000 and $400,000 worth of consultants and administrators that we didn't really need. That's how you can write a budget that's smaller than it was the year before, still provide the employees with the raises that they're contractually entitled to, and keep the lights on. This is what you need to do if we're going to have a stable tax base, if we're going to be able to have taxes in this town which are significantly lower than any place around us, and still keep our seniors in their homes. It was a battle to get this budget where it is. In the prior 2 years, I had nothing to do with writing the budget, but we used $1.25 million in fund balance in order to balance the budgets. In other words, we wiped out our savings in order to keep the tax increases lower over the last 2 years. Under the previous board presidents, spending increased by 3.5% and over 4.5% in those 2 years, where we used all of that fund balance. This year, our spending is decreasing, by a few hundredths, 1500ths of a percent, but it's less. We're spending less. So why is there a 2.5% tax increase that we're asking for? Well, quite frankly, we need to fill the holes. The deficit spending that went on over the last 2 years have completely wiped out our reserves. If a child with special education needs moved into the district and we hadn't have made the cuts that we made last year, the budget would have bounced. We would have broken the budget. And we can't operate like that. We need to be fiscally sound and conservative. We need to provide the kids with everything that the kids need. We're expanding our educational programs. We haven't cut the pre-K. The kids are getting the help that they need all through the school. We're expanding course offerings. We're just trimming out the admins that we never had before. We're a small school district where everyone needs to wear multiple hats. We were able to save all of that money this year, even though we had to spend on an acting superintendent while our current superintendent was out after a serious accident. It took all of the board working together to make the changes that we needed over the course of the year in order to keep this budget afloat from last year and to put the new budget together for the coming year. We underspent the budget from last year considerably, and we were able to put some of that money back into the fund balance. So This is tremendous momentum that we've put in place for the taxpayers. I want to stay in this seat and continue that work. So easily, members of our board in the past have been led down the path of we need a consultant for this, we need a consultant for that, we need a consultant for the other thing, we need more administrators. The truth of the matter is, we don't. If we hire the right people, we'll get the job done. Speaking of hires, we had to replace our GGM principal, who resigned, and our school psychologist, who resigned. We were able to replace those folks with top quality people for significantly less than we were paying before. We promoted from within for the GGM principal, and we were able to do an extensive search for a psychologist, did lots of interviewing, and found someone who's really making a difference in the school for our kids. So I just want you to take a look at some of the material that's available, either on my website or in the budget package. You'll find that at the school website online, to take a look at what you pay in Tuxedo, what we pay, as compared to some of the surrounding districts. A house with a $650,000 market value in Tuxedo is going to spend about $5,000 less in school taxes than they would in Monroe-Woodbury. For those of you with houses over $1 million in market value, that number would be $9,000 difference lower in Tuxedo. We're a real bargain here, and I want to make sure that the school stays solvent, that we come off of the fiscal stress list, which we were placed on because of the deficit spending over the last 2 years, and the school remains viable, solvent, and does a great job educating our kids. I hope that when you come out on May 20th to vote, you'll vote for me, and you will vote to pass the budget. Thank you.